Chosen one, stop for a moment. Do not move past this. Do not treat this as another message passing across your screen. Heaven did not let these words reach you by accident, and your spirit already knows there is something different about this moment. The angels are in shock. Not because you are weak, not because you failed, but because heaven uncovered a secret about your life, and somehow you still do not know what has been written over you. Listen closely. This is not ordinary curiosity. This is not random emotion. This is that strange pull inside your chest that makes you pause, even when your mind tries to scroll away. Something in you recognizes the sound of truth before your brain has time to explain it. That is why you are still here. That is why your attention was interrupted. Your spirit heard something before your ears did. You have been feeling it for days, maybe weeks. Something has been pressing against the inside of your life. You wake up tired. You pray, but your thoughts scatter. You smile for people, but deep inside, you feel like you are standing at the edge of a door you cannot see. And every time you try to call it stress, your spirit whispers, "No, this is something else." That is why heaven stopped you here. You have been carrying signs without language. You have been feeling movements without names. You have been sensing shifts before they appear in the physical world. And because no one around you understands it, you have started wondering if maybe you are imagining everything. But chosen one, you are not imagining it. You are detecting what heaven already uncovered. The secret is bigger than your current season. It is bigger than the delay. It is bigger than the people who walked away. It is bigger than the confusion that has tried to sit on your mind. Heaven has been looking at your life from above, and what heaven sees is not what your enemies see. They see silence. Heaven sees preparation. They see waiting. Heaven sees timing. They see you as overlooked. Heaven sees you as marked. You have been asking why things feel so strange lately, why certain conversations feel empty, why familiar rooms feel different, why some people can sit beside you and still feel far away. You are not becoming cold, you are becoming aware. Heaven is separating your spirit from the noise that used to control your reactions, because the secret about your life cannot be carried by the old version of you. That is why you cannot return to certain habits anymore. They used to comfort you, now they drain you. Certain music feels heavy, certain voices feel sharp, certain places make your body tense before anything bad happens. You may not have words for it yet, but your spirit is reading atmospheres again. And what shocks heaven is that you still keep calling this sensitivity a problem. Chosen one, your sensitivity was never weakness. It was a signal system. It was a sacred alert inside your spirit. When something is not aligned, you feel it. When someone smiles with hidden envy, you feel it. When a room is heavy with false peace, you feel it. And when God is preparing to move, something in you becomes restless before the evidence arrives. This is why you have been waking up at unusual hours. Not every night, but enough for you to notice. Your eyes open while the world is still quiet. Your body is tired, but your spirit feels alert. You check the time, and something inside you knows this was not random. Sometimes you see repeating numbers. Sometimes you feel an old memory rise. Sometimes you cannot explain anything, but you feel watched over and warned at the same time. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself it was nothing. You told yourself you were just tired. You told yourself that everyone feels this way sometimes. But deep down, you knew something was calling you into attention. And the more you ignored it, the louder your inner pressure became. Heaven does not always shout through storms. Sometimes heaven applies pressure until your soul stops pretending not to hear. That pressure is not here to destroy you. It is here to wake you. It is here to uncover what has been hidden under disappointment, delay, survival, and false humility. There is a version of you that knows exactly who you are. There is a part of you that still remembers what God placed inside you before the world taught you to shrink, and that part has been trying to rise again. Think about your childhood for a moment. You knew things without being told. You noticed sadness behind smiles. You felt tension before adults admitted anything was wrong. You learned quickly. You dreamed vividly. Your imagination was not empty fantasy, because it carried a strange kind of knowing that other people could not explain. Then life happened, and slowly that clarity became covered. People called you too sensitive. They told you to stop overthinking. They made you feel strange for noticing what others ignored. Some mocked your gentleness. Some used your kindness. Some punished you for speaking truth too early. And little by little, you began to hide the very part of you that heaven had designed to protect you. You learned to doubt your own discernment. That is one reason the angels are in shock. They have watched you call your gift a burden. They have watched you apologize for the very thing heaven placed in you to shift atmospheres. They have watched you lower your voice when your spirit was speaking clearly. And they have watched you choose silence, not from wisdom, but from fear of being misunderstood again. But this message did not come to condemn you. It came to gather the pieces. It came to say, you were not wrong for becoming guarded. You were wounded into caution. You were not foolish for doubting yourself. You were trained by pain to second-guess what heaven was trying to teach you. But the season of calling your clarity confusion is coming to an end. Now, stay with me. Because the secret heaven uncovered about your life is not only about what is coming, it is about what has been sitting inside you the entire time. You have been waiting for God to put something new on you, but heaven is trying to reveal what was already placed within you. This is why your recent discomfort has been so intense. You feel pulled, but you do not know where. You feel called, but you do not know how. You feel something closing, but you cannot name what is ending. You feel something opening, but you cannot explain why your spirit is both excited and afraid. That mixture is not madness, it is transition. Your old life is losing its authority over your nervous system, and your spirit is preparing to obey a higher voice. That is why the familiar has felt uncomfortable. God is not punishing you by making old things feel small. He is protecting you from settling inside a version of life that can no longer hold your assignment. The places that once distracted you now feel loud. The conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. The approval that once fed you now feels thin, because heaven is training your hunger for something real. This is not the kind of secret people gossip about. This is not someone hiding information from you. This is a divine uncovering. Heaven has uncovered the fact that your life carries a pattern, and that pattern has been visible since the beginning. The rejection was not random. The delay was not random. The loneliness was not random. Even the times you felt invisible were part of a covering. You thought you were hidden because you were unwanted, but you were hidden because you were being protected. You thought certain doors closed because you were not enough, but those doors closed because they were too small for the version of you that heaven was preparing. You thought some people left because you were difficult to love, but heaven removed them because they could not honor what they could not recognize. Please hear this. The secret about your life is not that everyone missed you. It is that heaven never did. Heaven saw every tear you wiped away before entering the room. Heaven saw every time you gave strength to people who never asked if you were empty. Heaven saw every silent battle you survived without applause, and heaven recorded what people ignored. This is why your spirit has been restless around unfinished things. There are conversations you do not need to reopen. There are people you do not need to convince. There are old versions of yourself you do not need to defend anymore. Something in you knows the page has turned, but your mind keeps trying to reread chapters that heaven has already closed. That inner conflict is exhausting you. You are not exhausted only because life is busy. You are exhausted because your spirit is refusing to live below what heaven revealed. You can feel the mismatch now. You can feel when you are entertaining what should have been released. You can feel when you are shrinking to keep peace with people who benefit from your silence, And that feeling is not punishment. It is alignment correcting you. Some of you have noticed dreams becoming intense. Faces from the past appear, doors appear, water appears, roads appear. You wake up with fragments that feel more real than ordinary imagination. Do not panic. Heaven often speaks in symbols before it speaks in sentences, and your spirit is being trained to pay attention without becoming afraid. Others have seen numbers repeating, 1111, 444, 777. You look away, then they appear again. You wonder if you are forcing meaning onto things. But chosen one, the point is not the number itself. The point is that your attention is being interrupted again and again, because heaven is teaching you to notice patterns you used to dismiss. And some of you have felt a sudden distance from people you once trusted. Nothing dramatic happened, no argument, no clear betrayal, just a quiet knowing that something is no longer the same. That knowing is not arrogance, it is discernment returning. When heaven uncovers a secret about your life, he also uncovers what cannot travel with it. Some separations are not rejection, they are protection. You may have asked, why do I feel so alone if God is with me? Why do I feel so delayed if I am chosen? Why do I feel so foggy if heaven is speaking? These questions have been heavy. You did not always say them out loud, but you carried them in your chest. And sometimes you wondered if being chosen only meant being tired in a way no one else could understand. But listen, isolation is not always abandonment. Delay is not always denial. Fog is not always failure. Sometimes heaven allows the noise to become unbearable, so you finally become desperate for true clarity. Sometimes God lets false voices lose their sweetness, so you stop feeding on confusion. Sometimes the silence grows thick, because heaven is removing every counterfeit sound from your inner world. That is what has been happening to you. Your life is not falling apart in the way the enemy wants you to believe. Your life is being uncovered. Layers are coming off. Masks are losing power. Attachments are being exposed. False responsibilities are becoming heavy in your hands. You are beginning to feel what belongs to you and what was never yours to carry. This is why you cannot keep pretending. You know when something is off. You know when a yes leaves your spirit grieving. You know when a relationship is held together by your overgiving. You know when a room celebrates your usefulness but ignores your soul. And now, heaven is asking you to stop betraying what you know, just to keep people comfortable. If this is already touching a place you could not explain, write, I am listening. Not as a performance, not to impress anyone. Write it as a witness that your spirit is no longer pretending not to hear. Let those words become a small line in the sand. I am listening. I am not running from the truth. I am not calling my discernment confusion anymore. Because there is more. The angels are not shocked because you missed one small clue. They are shocked because the evidence has been surrounding your life. The dreams, the delays, the strange protection, the sudden removals, the repeated signs, the inner pressure, the childhood knowing, the way your spirit refuses to settle. All of it has been pointing toward the same hidden truth, and that truth will not stay buried forever. Heaven is uncovering it now, because the next season requires you to know who you are before the door opens. If you walk into a divine opening with an old identity, you will question the blessing instead of receiving it. You will apologize for favor. You will shrink in rooms where God called you to stand. That is why this message reached you before the shift becomes visible. So breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Let your spirit settle. You do not need to force understanding in this second. You only need to stop running from the recognition. Something in you knows this is for you. Something in you knows the timing is precise. Something in you knows heaven is not just speaking around you, but directly into the place you have been hiding. The secret heaven uncovered is not only about a miracle coming toward you, it is about the person inside you who has been buried under survival, disappointment, and fear. It is about the clarity you lost. It is about the assignment you kept minimizing. It is about the sacred sensitivity you kept calling too much. And before this message is over, you will understand why heaven would not let you miss this moment. Chosen one, now that your spirit has been interrupted, I need you to understand something with calmness. The secret was not hidden because heaven wanted to confuse you. It was covered because there were seasons where knowing too much too early would have made you run from the weight of your own calling. Protection can feel like delay when you do not yet see the full design. Before we go deeper, I want to name something early so nothing feels hidden from you later. Some of you have been feeling the fog in your mind as strongly as the pressure in your spirit. You pray, but your thoughts scatter. You try to focus, but something feels dull. You remember a time when your inner knowing was sharper, and you wonder where that clarity went. There is a simple audio tool called the Genius Song that I will speak about more fully later. It uses brain entrainment to support the gamma wave, the brainwave connected with deep focus, intuition, flow, and the kind of clear inner alertness many chosen ones remember from earlier in life. It is not a replacement for prayer. It is not a shortcut around obedience. It is simply support for the clarity that has been buried. If your spirit already recognizes why that matters, the verified path is in the description and pinned comment. But do not leave this message yet. The tool only makes sense after you understand why your clarity became covered in the first place. Heaven is not just pointing you towards support. Heaven is showing you the pattern behind the fog, the delay, and the strange disconnection you have felt. Now listen closely. You did not fail to know the secret. You were trained to distrust what you knew. There is a difference. Many times, the enemy does not need to remove your gift. He only needs to make you ashamed of it. He only needs to surround your discernment with voices that call it too much, too intense, too emotional, too strange, until you start naming divine sensitivity as a personal flaw. That is what happened to many of you. You felt something was wrong before anyone admitted it. You sensed betrayal before the proof arrived. You knew a door was not yours before everyone else told you to walk through it. But because you could not explain the knowing in ordinary language, you started apologizing for the very alertness heaven placed inside you for protection. So the reframe begins here. Your isolation was not proof that you were rejected. It was evidence that heaven was limiting access to you. Your delay was not proof that you were forgotten. It was evidence that God was refusing to let you enter rooms that would have celebrated your gift while starving your soul. Your sensitivity was not a weakness. It was your spirit reading what your eyes could not see. The enemy wanted you to interpret protection as punishment. That is one of his oldest strategies. If he can make a covered person feel abandoned, he can tempt that person to uncover themselves in the wrong place. If he can make a waiting person feel forgotten, he can push that person to accept a counterfeit door just to prove they are still valuable. But heaven did not hide you to harm you. Heaven hid you because what you carry needed time to mature. A premature reveal can attract premature warfare. A gift shown before the heart is anchored can become a trap. This is why some doors did not open when you begged for them. God was not saying no to your destiny. He was saying not yet to a version of you that was still willing to shrink for acceptance. That is why this season has felt so uncomfortable. You are not only losing people, you are losing old agreements. You are losing the agreement that says, love must cost your peace. You are losing the agreement that says being chosen means being available to everyone. You are losing the agreement that says your worth is measured by how much pain you can absorb without speaking. Heaven is uncovering the secret by removing the lies around it. Every lie that made you smaller has to be exposed. The lie that you are hard to love. The lie that your timing is broken. The lie that your gift is imaginary. The lie that God speaks to everyone else more clearly than he speaks to you. Those lies survived because pain repeated them often enough to sound true. But repetition does not make a lie holy. Pain can repeat something for years and still be wrong. Your past can echo a sentence every morning, and still have no authority from heaven. That is why you are feeling a new resistance inside. A holy refusal is rising. Something in you is beginning to say, I cannot keep agreeing with what God never said about me. This is the shift. You are not trying to become chosen. You are learning to stop living like you are not. You are not trying to force heaven to notice you. Heaven has already noticed. You are not trying to invent a calling. You are remembering one. And the secret heaven uncovered is connected to this memory, because your future depends on the part of you that trauma told you to bury. You may have wondered why your life keeps repeating certain lessons. Different faces, same spirit. Different doors, same warning. Different opportunities, same uneasy feeling. It is not because you are cursed to repeat pain. It is because heaven keeps bringing you back to the place where you abandoned your own knowing. The cycle breaks when you stop betraying your discernment for temporary peace. That is why you cannot ignore the small checks anymore. The pause before saying yes, the heaviness after a conversation, the sudden peace when you release something you thought you needed. These are not random moods. These are spiritual signals. Your spirit is learning to speak again after being buried under survival. And this time, heaven is asking you to take your own knowing seriously. This is why you are being separated from noise. Not because God wants you lonely, because noise taught you to second-guess your spirit. Too many opinions made you delay obedience. Too many explanations made you doubt the clean instruction. Too many emotional debts made you carry burdens heaven never assigned to you. So God is simplifying your inner world before He expands your outer life. There is one moment in your past where the enemy started teaching you to doubt your own knowing. For some of you, it was a betrayal. For some, it was a parent who dismissed your sensitivity. For some, it was a church wound. For some, it was a relationship where you saw the signs early but ignored them because love made you hopeful. That moment became a wound around your discernment. Stay with me, because the pattern does not start with you. Heaven has always hidden marked vessels before revealing them. God has always allowed seasons where the chosen look ordinary to people who cannot see oil. And in the next part, you will understand why your hidden years were not wasted years, and why even angels are watching the moment you finally recognize what heaven knew all along. Chosen one, now the pattern must be proven in your spirit. Heaven does not reveal marked people the way the world promotes ordinary people. The world announces what it can use. Heaven conceals what it must protect. This is why your hidden years were not wasted years. They were covered years, and covered does not mean forgotten. Look at David. The oil found him before the palace did. His own family did not call him into the room at first, yet heaven knew his name. Heaven knew the king inside him, before people knew where to place him. The field was not proof of rejection. The field was training. That is why you must stop measuring your identity by who invited you. David was not less anointed because men overlooked him. He was not less chosen because his assignment was hidden in a field. And some of you have been standing in your own field, wondering why no one can see the crown forming in you. Your life has looked ordinary to people who only honor noise. You have worked quietly. You have cried privately. You have helped people who never understood the weight you were carrying. And because there was no audience, you wondered if heaven was silent. But God often teaches His chosen the sound of truth before He lets them hear applause. Now look at Joseph. He saw the dream before he had the maturity to carry it. Heaven gave him a glimpse, but the path went through betrayal, a pit, false accusation, and prison. People thought his dream died in the darkness, but the darkness was not stronger than the word over his life. It was only the place where the dream was being tested. Some of you know that road. You saw something about your future long before anyone believed you. You carried a private knowing, but then betrayal came, delay came, closed doors came, and somewhere along the way, you stopped saying the dream out loud because pain made you afraid of sounding foolish. But Joseph was not abandoned in the pit. He was being separated from the wrong hands. He was not forgotten in prison. He was being positioned near the very door that would one day open. Heaven does not need a crowd to move a marked person. Heaven only needs timing. And when the hour arrives, what looked delayed can suddenly move through one divine conversation. Now look at Moses. He was born under a threat. His life was hidden before it was understood. Then he spent years in a wilderness that looked like exile. But heaven used that wilderness to empty the noise of Egypt from his spirit. The deliverer had to be stripped before he could carry deliverance. And that same stripping has been touching your life. You have wondered why God removed so much, why the old rhythm disappeared, why certain voices lost influence, why the places that once felt normal now feel tight. It is because your spirit is being emptied of Egypt, not a place on a map, but every system that taught you to obey fear, perform for approval, and doubt the voice of God. Moses did not lose years in the wilderness. He lost the false identity that Egypt placed on him. And chosen one, you are not losing yourself in this season. You are losing the version that was trained to survive without clarity. You are losing the mask. You are losing the agreement with smallness. This is the spiritual mechanism. Heaven hides the marked one. Pressure exposes the false self. Wilderness removes the counterfeit voice. Then clarity returns with authority. That is the pattern. It is not random. It is not cruelty. It is preparation. Before God reveals what He placed in you, He often removes what taught you to misread yourself. Daniel gives you another key. His answer was released, but warfare resisted the delivery. That means delay does not always mean denial. Sometimes heaven has already spoken, but the atmosphere around the answer is contested. This is why you felt movement before you saw evidence. Your spirit detected the answer before your eyes could confirm it. Some of you have been living in that tension. You know God heard you, but the physical world looks unchanged. You sense a door forming, but the hallway still feels dark. Do not call that contradiction proof of failure. Sometimes your spirit receives the signal before your situation receives the manifestation. And this is why your clarity matters. If you cannot discern the difference between delay and denial, you will bury a promise too early. If you cannot discern the difference between protection and rejection, you will chase what God removed. If you cannot discern the difference between warfare and punishment, you will accuse yourself for battles that prove your assignment has weight. This is also why Gamma matters in the language of your mind. I am not asking you to worship science. I am showing you how heaven often places spiritual design inside your very wiring. There are states of focus, alertness, flow, and deep knowing that feel like the mind becoming clear enough to hear what the spirit has been saying all along. As a child, you may have lived closer to that clarity. You noticed patterns quickly. You learned without forcing. You felt truth before people explained it. Then pressure, disappointment, noise, and survival began covering that inner sharpness. The gift did not disappear. The signal became buried under static. That is why you have felt like your real self is somewhere beneath the fog. Hear this carefully. Heaven is not against your mind. Heaven wants your mind renewed, cleared, and surrendered. A foggy mind can make a clear instruction feel confusing. A scattered mind can make a divine warning feel like random fear. But when clarity returns, obedience becomes less dramatic. You simply know what to release. You simply know where not to go. A crowded mind is easy to delay. A foggy mind is easy to manipulate. A tired spirit can mistake pressure for instruction. This is why the enemy does not always attack you with obvious destruction. Sometimes he attacks through noise, too many opinions, too many false responsibilities, too many voices asking for access to the part of you that should be listening to God. But heaven is simplifying you now. That is why certain things bore you. That is why old drama no longer feeds you. That is why your spirit pulls back when people try to drag you into confusion. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming consecrated. You are being trained to protect the place where clarity rises. The angels are in shock because heaven has been confirming this again and again. You have survived things that should have made you bitter. You have stayed tender after betrayal. You have kept praying after silence. You have kept giving after being used. That is not ordinary endurance. That is evidence of hidden oil. This is why the next part matters. Because there is one lie that made you stop trusting your knowing. It made you doubt the way heaven speaks through you. And until that lie is exposed, you may keep receiving signs while still acting like you have no direction. Stay with me. The hidden blocker is about to be named, not to shame you, not to frighten you, but to free the part of you that has been buried under other people's voices for too long. Because heaven has already uncovered the secret. Now your spirit must stop arguing with the evidence. Chosen one. Now we must name the hidden blocker. You have heard the pattern. You have seen the signs. You have felt the pressure. But the secret heaven uncovered cannot become freedom until the lie that buried it is exposed. The lie was not loud at first. It sounded like caution. It sounded like humility. It sounded like wisdom. But it was fear wearing a religious voice. The lie told you to shrink before you were accused of pride. It told you to stay quiet before someone called you strange. It told you to ignore your knowing because proof had not arrived yet. And because you were tired of being misunderstood, you started making agreements with silence that heaven never asked you to make. This is where the enemy became subtle. He did not need to convince you that God was false. He only needed to convince you that God would speak clearly to everyone except you. He did not need to destroy your gift. He only needed to make you embarrassed by it. He did not need to remove your assignment. He only needed to make you feel unworthy of carrying it. That is why the angels are in shock. Heaven has been showing you the evidence, but pain taught you to argue with the evidence. You felt the warning and still apologized for feeling it. You saw the pattern and still called it coincidence. You sensed the door closing and still tried to force it open, because old rejection made you afraid to trust divine protection. But here is the secret. You were not sent here to chase proof. You were sent here carrying proof. The strange protection was evidence. The delay that saved you from the wrong room was evidence. The fact that you still feel God after everything you endured is evidence. Your clarity was buried under voices, wounds, pressure, and survival. It was covered. It was pressed down, but it was never removed. Your discernment was buried, not broken. Your calling was delayed, not denied. Your sensitivity was wounded, not worthless. Your clarity was covered, not cancelled. That is why something in you still rises when truth is spoken. The real you is still under there. The heaven marked you is still under there. This is the moment the enemy feared. Not the moment you become famous. Not the moment people clap for you. The moment he feared was the moment you stopped mistaking fog for identity. Because once you realize you are not the fog, you stop obeying it. Once you realize confusion was an attack on clarity, you stop building your life around uncertainty. Remember the tool I mentioned earlier when we talked about mental fog and spiritual clarity. Now that the hidden blocker has been named, I can explain why that support matters for some of you. This is not a break from the message. It is connected to the message. When heaven uncovers a secret about your life, you need enough inner clarity to carry what has been revealed. The Genius Song is not here to give you a gift heaven never placed in you. It is here as support for clarity that has been buried. It is a 7-minute digital audio track designed to be listened to with headphones, using brain entrainment to support the gamma wave. Gamma is connected with focus, intuition, flow, and the bright inner alertness many chosen ones remember from before life became heavy. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years working in neuroscience, and the research around brainwaves has been connected with places like MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other leading research universities. Hear this as a bridge, not cold science. Your mind and your spirit are not enemies. When the mind clears, the spirit often becomes easier to hear. There was a woman, 38 years old, who had tried spiritual retreats and every method people said would reconnect her. But something still felt distant. After using the audio for 2 weeks, what changed first was not drama. She described it as synchronicities. Life began answering in a language her spirit could recognize. Some people spend around $15 every month on meditation apps. Others spend $100 to $200 on growth courses, or $150 for one therapy session. Retreats can cost $400 to $800, and many options still do not target Gamma specifically. The Genius song was originally $49, but for viewers of this message, it is $39 as a one-time digital access. It arrives by email, so there is no shipping and no waiting for a package. This is not framed as a commercial discount. It is access for people who feel called to restore the clarity that life tried to bury. You also receive Genius Child, valued at $19. You receive the Classic Book, valued at $20. You receive Guided Visualization, valued at $29. You receive the 5-Habit Infographic, valued at $12. That is $80 in bonuses added to the core audio, while the access today remains $39. More than 18,366 people have used it, and the refund rate has stayed under 4%. That points to trust. And still, you are protected with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you ask for a refund, you keep all 4 bonuses, the full $80 in added value. There are counterfeit pages using similar language around the Genius song. Some are ordinary sounds with no real brain entrainment behind them. Do not search for it on Amazon, YouTube, or Spotify. The verified path is only through the link in the description and the pinned comment. Now pause for a moment. Place your hand over your chest if you can. Breathe in slowly. Let your body become still. This decision is not about whether $39 is a price. It is about whether you believe there is clarity inside you worth protecting. If your spirit says yes, you know. The verified link is in the description and pinned comment. Go through that path only if this has witnessed to your spirit. Do not move from panic. Move from recognition. Move because something in you knows the fog has lasted long enough, and the next door requires you to hear God without arguing with every signal He sends. The tool can support clarity, but obedience still belongs to you. No audio can obey for you. No resource can surrender for you. No support can replace the moment when you stop calling your gift a burden. Heaven can uncover the secret, but you must stop hiding from what has been uncovered. The angels are not waiting for you to become someone else. They are watching you stop agreeing with the lie that you are ordinary. They are watching you gather the scattered pieces of your knowing. They are watching the covering crack. They are watching the marked one remember. Your clarity was buried, not destroyed. Your assignment was hidden, not erased. Your sensitivity was protected under layers of pain, not rejected by heaven. And now the question is simple. Will you keep living as if you do not know? Or will you let this truth change the way you move? The hidden blocker has been named. It was the lie that made you distrust the way heaven speaks through you. It was the wound that made clarity feel dangerous. It was the old agreement that said you must stay small to stay safe. But that agreement is breaking now. It has no covenant over your future. Chosen one, now let the truth settle. Do not rush past what heaven just uncovered. Do not treat revelation like a passing feeling. Something has been named, and once a lie is named, it begins losing authority. The fog is not your identity. The delay is not your sentence. The silence was not proof that heaven forgot you. You have been marked, protected, and prepared. From this moment, stop calling yourself confused when God has been restoring your clarity. Stop calling yourself rejected when heaven has been guarding your access. Stop calling yourself too sensitive when your spirit has been reading what others could not see. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are not weak because you notice hidden things. You are awake in places where others are asleep. There will be signs after this message. Not because you have to force them, not because you have to search every corner of your life with fear, but because once your spirit receives truth, your eyes begin to recognize what was already there. You will notice the conversation that confirms your release. You will notice the peace that comes when you stop chasing what drained you. Some of you will feel clarity about a relationship. Some will feel clarity about a decision. Some will feel clarity about money, work, calling, prayer, or movement. It may not arrive as thunder. It may come as a quiet knowing that refuses to leave. Do not despise the gentle voice. Heaven does not need to scream when your spirit is finally listening. This next season requires silence, but not the silence of fear. It requires holy silence, the kind that protects what God is doing before people can place their hands on it. Do not explain every shift. Do not announce every door. Do not defend every separation. Some things must grow in secret before they can stand in public. You do not owe everyone an explanation for your obedience. You do not owe old environments access to your new clarity. You do not owe people a debate about what God has already settled inside you. When heaven uncovers a secret about your life, the first assignment is protection. Guard the revelation, guard the peace, guard the voice that is becoming clear again. Write down what you know, but do not obsess over what you do not know yet. Obedience begins with the light you have, not the map you wish you had. If God has shown you one step, honor that one step. If God has told you to release something, release it. If God has told you to wait, wait without calling yourself forgotten. The enemy wants you frantic after revelation. Heaven wants you anchored. The enemy wants you to run out and prove that you are chosen. Heaven wants you to rest in the fact that being chosen was never dependent on being understood. You do not need to perform your calling for people who only recognize noise. Your fruit will speak when the season is mature. Say this within your spirit. I am not ordinary. I am not abandoned. I am not confused beyond repair. I am not too late for what heaven assigned to me. I am not disqualified by the seasons where I doubted myself. I receive the clarity that God is restoring in me. I release the fog that tried to rename me. Let those words go deeper than emotion. Let them touch the place where you used to agree with smallness. Let them confront the voice that told you to stay hidden forever. You were concealed for protection, not erased from purpose. You were delayed for preparation, not denied by heaven. You were quiet for a season, but your silence will not become your prison. If this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, write, Heaven uncovered the secret. Do not write it casually. Write it as a witness. Write it as a line of agreement with what heaven is revealing. Write it as the moment you stop pretending you did not hear. Heaven uncovered the secret. Heaven uncovered the secret. Heaven uncovered the secret. And if you feel called to use the clarity tool mentioned earlier, the verified link remains in the description and pinned comment. Move only if your spirit recognizes it. Move from peace, not pressure. Move from alignment, not fear. The next door requires clarity, and you are allowed to receive support while you walk in obedience. Now place your attention on your breathing. Let your body settle. Let your hands relax. Let your jaw unclench. You have carried pressure for so long that peace may feel unfamiliar at first. But peace is not weakness. Peace is authority without panic. Peace is what happens when your spirit stops arguing with what heaven has already revealed. I declare over you, the fog is lifting. The false voices are losing power. The old agreements are breaking. The hidden shame is being removed. The fear of being seen is being healed. The part of you that knew truth before pain interrupted you is rising again, not as fantasy, but as holy clarity. You will not shrink to keep people comfortable. You will not call your gift a burden. You will not apologize for discernment. You will not chase counterfeit doors because delay made you restless. You will not return to rooms that required you to betray your spirit in order to belong. Your belonging is not for sale anymore. The angels are not watching a failure, they are watching a remembering. They are watching the moment your spirit stops arguing with heaven. They are watching the marked vessel wake up to the truth that was always written over your life. You are not becoming chosen today. You are becoming aware of what heaven already knew. This is why the secret shook you. It did not feel like new information. It felt like memory. It felt like something ancient inside you, turning its face toward the light. That is what truth does. It does not always introduce itself as something foreign. Sometimes truth arrives as a sentence your spirit has been waiting years to hear. You are allowed to be steady now. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to stop rushing for proof. You are allowed to let God confirm what He has uncovered without forcing people to understand. The next version of your life will not be built on panic. It will be built on clarity, obedience, and peace. Watch what happens when you stop negotiating with confusion. Watch how quickly false doors lose their shine. Watch how your body begins to reject what your spirit already knew was wrong. Watch how certain people become louder when they realize you are no longer easy to pull back into old patterns. Do not fear their reaction. Their discomfort is not your instruction. You are stepping into a cleaner sound, a quieter knowing, a stronger yes, a holier no. This is the part of the journey where you stop measuring truth by how many people agree with it. Sometimes heaven confirms a thing in silence before He confirms it in public. Do not despise the quiet place. It is where your clarity becomes unshakable. Say this again in your spirit. I receive my clarity. I release the fog. I trust what heaven confirms. I stop shrinking from my assignment. I no longer call my discernment confusion. I no longer call my sensitivity weakness. I no longer call divine protection rejection. I am marked, guided, covered, and ready. There is a door ahead of you, but this time you will not enter it with an old identity. You will not apologize for favor. You will not explain away peace. You will not sabotage the blessing because it feels bigger than what you expected. When the door opens, you will remember this message. You will remember that heaven warned you before visibility came. That is why you had to hear this now, before the shift becomes visible, before the conversation happens, before the opportunity appears, before the confirmation reaches your hands. Heaven is restoring your inner posture so you do not mishandle the outer blessing. A person who knows who they are can receive without bowing to fear. Subscribe and keep your attention open, because these confirmations do not come alone. Heaven often sends messages in sequence when a chosen one is crossing from confusion into clarity. Share this with one person whose spirit has been heavy, not to alarm them, to remind them that the fog is not the end of their story. Now let us seal this. Father, restore the clarity of the one listening. Remove every false voice that trained them to distrust your leading. Break every agreement with fear, delay, shame, and smallness. Let the hidden gift breathe again. Let the marked one stop running from the truth. Let peace become their evidence. I speak over your mind, clarity. I speak over your spirit, courage. I speak over your decisions, alignment. I speak over your relationships, discernment. I speak over your next door, protection. I speak over your hidden season, completion. What heaven has uncovered will not be buried again by fear. Chosen one, the angels are in shock because the secret was never far from you. It was in your sensitivity. It was in your survival. It was in your dreams. It was in your refusal to become cruel after being wounded. It was in the way heaven kept preserving you, even when you did not understand why. Do not leave this message as the same person who arrived. Leave with your spirit lifted. Leave with your clarity guarded. Leave with your obedience sharpened. Leave knowing that heaven uncovered a secret about your life, and now you are responsible for walking like the one who finally knows. The fog is lifting, the marked one is remembering, and this time you will not turn away from the truth.